The development of the forklift truck in Britain early in the last century was an uplifting event. It was during the First World War, and much of the country's male workforce was on the battlefront. So the forklift literally picked up where they left off to keep the economy moving on the home front. The modern forklift has quite an extensive reach. That's because warehouses today expand up rather than out to stack more into a given space. Production starts with this welding robot. The robot uses computer smarts to fuse steel parts together to produce the truck body. Humans take over to weld together rails for the lift system's main frame. After a sleek paint job, the truck body is ready for the mechanics. An emergency switch goes on the front. It will allow the forklift operator to quickly cut the engine's power. Then, they assemble the lift's hydraulic system, beginning with the tank that holds the hydraulic fluid. They hook it up to the pump that provides the required pressure. They wire the pump so they can later connect it to the forklift's battery. They nudge the pump into its permanent position and bolt it to the floor of the truck. Wiring for the lights, horn, and lift sensors comes next. Then they slide a foot pedal into place. It both activates and brakes the forklift truck. At 7 horsepower, this engine may seem small, but it's enough to move the truck and a load of 2.2 tons safely. They check the oil and install a bracket for the vehicle control handle. The handle is then connected to a computerized system that operates both the vehicle and its hydraulic lift. They slide the steering wheel onto a shaft and make sure it's solidly attached. Production then hits a turning point as they power up the motor and check the steering wheel installation. They flush filtered oil through the hydraulic system that powers the lift. It's a cleansing process to ensure no dirt can compromise the hydraulics. They test the computerized controls for the lift and motor. With the hydraulic cylinders installed, they grease the mainframe above them. This makes it easier to slide the inner rails onto the frame, and later, the grease will also improve the function of this hydraulic lift. They thread chains through the main frame and its inner rails. These chains will work in conjunction with lift cylinders to elevate the load. They roll the forklift's carriage along grooves in the rail system. It's this carriage to which the forks and other attachments will be mounted. A special machine now maneuvers the lift into an upright position. Then they wheel in the completed truck. They call this a marriage because the truck and lift are getting hitched. They bolt the two sub-assemblies together from the inside of the empty battery compartment. They then temporarily connect the forklift to a battery in order to move it down the line. It's time for the forklift to undergo a little corporate branding with these company decals. They engrave a serial number onto a metal plate. It identifies the forklift for warranty purposes. They put a cover on the truck, and this forklift is ready to go to work. The forks and the battery will be installed on the worksite because they're often specific to the job. But one thing's for certain, this forklift is sure to carry a lot of weight in the workplace.
A scissor lift is a mobile work platform that rises. The elevating mechanism consists of arms that connect in the middle like scissors, hence the name. Scissor lifts are a common sight on construction sites, in big warehouses, and at buildings where workers need a safe way to reach heights to carry out repairs or maintenance. The number of arms in the scissor mechanism varies according to the height of each particular model. The factory constructs the scissor arms from steel tubes. The first step is to cut them to the right length for the model in production. A worker uses an air gun to blow off the tiny shards of metal the cutting leaves behind. The arms go into a press that punches a hole for a hollow steel cylinder called a boss. The boss is the housing for a pin that will connect one arm to the other, yet still allow them to pivot like a pair of scissors. Workers now use a magnetic crane to move the arm to the welding area. They insert the boss into the hole, then tack it in place. This piece will go on the end of each scissor arm, but first, they weld on another boss. Now fully assembled, this piece is called the male scissor end. They tack it to one end of the scissor arm and tack a female scissor end to the arm's other end. Robots now weld the two end pieces simultaneously, then the boss in the middle. Now, workers stack the scissor arms, putting a pin in each middle boss. They also install the hydraulic lift cylinder that will raise and lower the scissor stack. This manifold activates the lift cylinder by increasing and decreasing hydraulic pressure. Workers fasten the connected scissor ends to each other by driving a pin through the boss. They secure it with a locking mechanism called a cotter pin. Meanwhile, other workers assemble the base of the scissor lift. At this stage, it's upside down. At the rear, workers bolt in a hydraulic wheel motor. Hydraulic pressure turns the motor, enabling the operator to move the scissor lift forward or backward. They slide a wheel onto the hub and bolt it securely. This is the wheel hub onto which the front wheel bolts. It attaches with a pin, locked by a cotter pin. They install the hydraulic steering cylinder. This steel tie rod links the front wheels to each other so that they turn together. Now, workers hook up the hydraulic hoses. They pump a bit of grease in to lubricate the cylinder. Next, they assemble and install the hydraulic tray. It contains the electrical panel that controls all machine functions, as well as the hydraulic tank and pump. The pump forces hydraulic fluid to the wheel motor, steering cylinder, and lift cylinder. The hydraulic tray swings closed under the base for protection. On the other side, they install the battery tray. It houses 4 6-volt batteries that power the scissor lift, along with a battery charger. The scissor stack, meanwhile, is in the paint booth, getting a coat of primer, then a coat of urethane paint. This finish prevents the steel from rusting. After curing the paint in an oven, they install the scissor stack onto the base. Now they connect the 2 hoses that run between the lift cylinder and the hydraulic pump. Through one hose, fluid goes to the cylinder to raise the scissor. Through the other, fluid withdraws to lower the scissor. They run cables from the electrical panel up through the scissor stack. After installing a platform made of painted steel, they connect the cables to a control box on the platform rail. These controls enable a worker to operate the scissor lift from the platform. After a test drive, it's time to apply the decals. Up to 75 of them, depending on the model. Some are decorative, but most specify safety information, such as the scissor lift's load capacity.